Right, we're at the next stage now, or when I've been attending to the case, and I'm getting close to where I want to get, but I haven't actually polished it all. But what I want to try and do is to see if sanding actually enhances the finish and to get a really nice finish. I've put 2 coats of Mal Black on this top section, but nothing on the lower section. As you can see, this area is still very dull. That's dull, that's dull. But this has had the Mal Black on. It's a bit dusty, but that'll come off. And so is that. And I want to see if the the treatment I've given it with sandpaper is going to pay off. Right, now I'm going to try and polish up the second coat. So it's had 2 coats of Mal Black, and this is the second coat of dry wax. Well, that's it. I don't think I can improve on that much. It looks pretty good, but it looks polished. It doesn't look as if it's been finished by the factory. And since it's only been repaired by, as it were, a novice, an amateur, I'm not too distressed with it. Right, I'm back again. We finished the tops, as I said, but what I've done now is that these columns are pretty grotty in themselves, but I thought I'd leave them as they are without painting them black and just wax them. I've waxed these 2 and they look quite good. So it will give a sort of used look to them, which, no, commiserate with the age. I've sanded this section down here. Now that's done up to 7,000 grit, which is, I think, pretty good, and I hope that that'll be worthwhile when it comes to looking at how it's going to finish. I've got to clean up the gong, which was in the base of the clock. That's pretty dirty. I'm not sure what it's made of, but it looks as if it's sort of a gunmetal finish, and that's probably just clean up a little bit. Then what I've decided with the figures, which were to have gone here, and over here, I've given them a bit of a clean up, and I'm not going to do anything apart from what I've done. I cleaned them with a stiff brush to get them free of dust. They're made of lead, so they're nothing special, and they're more of an impression of what they are than a work of art. But they'll be fun sitting in there. I'll give them a coat of wax, and I think that they will then, you can see the dust at the back of that one. It was all covered in dust. That will solve that and make them quite good. I've got a problem on the finial at the top, because the finial at the top on this section here, as I was saying, the finial on the top is in a pretty bad state. That is like that, and it used to have quite a lot of decorative skirting going around, yeah, but that's all been broken off, and I suppose that was with in the day when they had maids and things, when they polished and cleaned it up. And you can see that if I put that on there, and then put the finial on top, comme ça, it's not going to look very good. So I've got to trim that and clean it and make it look presentable. Now I'll probably remove all this and put that aside somewhere where it will be with the clock, but then trim it back so that it's just got a little frieze around it. So I think you can see that the columns don't look too bad, and by retaining the natural appearance of them, gives it the feeling of age. And no, it doesn't show very well, but these look a bit grubby down here, and these have got a bit of a shine on them, but they're made of tin or metal, steel. They're not particularly beautiful, but on the other hand, I think that giving them a coat of wax with the paint that's on them already just makes them a little bit more aged and probably more in keeping. Anyway, more on that later. Well, the clock is now finished, and it's working. I don't know if you can hear it ticking. The one behind me is also ticking. When I move it round, unfortunately it won't work because you're upsetting the balance, but this fellow is now solid, and so is this one. I've cleaned up the bases of the pilasters and the tops, and they've got nice Corinthian heads which I've just polished up with polish, but I didn't re-black these. I left them in much the same state as they were when I got them, but cleaned them up, removed the rust, and put a coat of polish on them, so they've got a mellow look, which I think is all right. Yeah, the finish is not bad. It isn't like it was when it was first made, and I don't think you should expect too much of it. You can see back here there's a cloudiness to it, but it's uniform. I'm delighted actually that it looks so good. The clock is now working. I'll just take it through. and sofa. The works is a real problem. That it took me hours and hours to do it, probably about 4 days, 5 days, because I had to take it to pieces about 10 times, 12 times. I had to renew the springs, not the main springs, but the springs which operated the detents for the strike. Well, for the strike, there's 2 of them. But you can see that the inside is pretty clean. And there are other videos of what I've done. So it's okay. I mean, I'm very pleased with it actually. The springs were good. They cleaned up very well, and I'm not one to not replace springs. I don't mind replacing a spring. I've got the apparatus to do it, and if you're taking a spring out and cleaning it and it's not a good spring, there's no point in putting it back in. Yes, it costs a bit of money to put them back in. You've got 3 of them. It may cost upwards of £30 and with the labour, but it's worth it, because what's the point of putting a clock together if it's not going to be as it should be. So there we are. I'm delighted. I think it's come to life. The figures are clean. I haven't done much with them. Excuse me. I haven't done a great deal with them. I just polished them up, buffed them up. They're lead. They're nothing special, but they're nice. And again. Yes, so the effigies here, they were a bit dull and not very encouraging in what they appeared to be. They're made of lead. I didn't do a great deal to them. I didn't black them again. I just buffed them up a little gently. I don't want the lead showing through. Put some polish on them and cleaned up the bases here, as you can see. The pilasters were pretty grotty, as you can see from the original ones, but I cleaned those up, cleaned the rust off, and I didn't black them again, nor did I do anything with the bases on the pediments here or the Corinthian tops here, Corinthian heads. I left those as they are. Cleaned this off, yes, polished that up, but I polished the rings on them, but otherwise I just waxed it and buffed it up as best I could to make it look comfortable and retain some of the age of the clock. It's cleaned up quite well, but you can see perhaps at the back here and here and elsewhere as well, it's not polished to the same high polish that it was originally, but you know, it's over 100 years old, well over 100 years old. This must be before the turn of the century, or at the turn of the century, 19th century, 1900s, and I think it's worthy of having some of its age showing through, because that in a way gives its authenticity. And if it's all brand spanking polished up, you might as well go and get something from one of the top end shops, which is all shiny and glistening. This is shiny, this is glistening, but it's also got age, and it's got wear, and it's got love, and it's got character. I haven't either tried to remove some of the chips on it. Yeah, there's a chip there and one, a little one. I think that no, those are no part of age, and as you grow older, you get certain attributes which are signs of wear and being. and existence. Anyway, there we are. So I say adieu.